Hello chess friends! In this chess lesson we will talk about endgames rook versus pawn. Although rook is not that powerful piece as the queen is, there are many endgame positions in which rook is able to win against the pawn. We have learned that if we have queen and the king versus pawn and the king, that if either king or queen are in front of the opponent's pawn, it is very easy win for the stronger side. With the rook it is a little bit different. If king is in front of the opponent pawn, it is always easy win. But if rook is in front of the pawn, the win is not guaranteed and the result of the game will depend on the position of the king. Very rare, rook is able alone to stop the pawn from further advancing. Queen can easily do that by blockading the pawn. But with rook we have very small number of examples. And this is one of the examples in which rook alone is able to stop the pawn from advancing. Simply the winning move is rook a5. And now, if black decides to keep his king around the pawn, that will give no progress because white king will just advance further on and step in front of the pawn, and we know that when the king is in the front of the pawn, the win is very easy. But if black decides to push his pawn forward, then when this pawn goes up to h3 square, white will simply play rook h3, attack the pawn and easily win it, and white wins. So this pattern in which rook alone wins the opponent's pawn is only possible if the pawn is on the edge file, and another condition which has to be fulfilled is that this pawn needs to have 5 additional moves till the promotion. If this pawn is not on the 6th rank, if it is on the 5th rank, then rook will not be strong enough to stop the pawn like in this position which is just presented. In this video chess lesson, we are going to see only some extreme examples in which the king of the stronger side will be far away from the opponent's pawn. This is our next example. Here we see that white's king is on a1 and it is far away from the opponent's pawn. The best move now for white is rook g1 check. This move is forcing black king to go back in order to protect his own pawn. If now black king stays anywhere on the 4th rank or goes somewhere on the 3rd rank, after next immediate rook h1 move, the pawn on h7 will be immediately lost, which means that king is forced to go to f5 square now. And now rook h1, excellent move, forcing black king to go to g6. And if we now compare this position with the starting position, we see that black king is 2 squares or 2 moves away from his original position. Don't forget that black pawn and black king need to travel together in order to threat the promotion. That will give enough time to white's king to approach closer. And let's see. After rook f1, king g6, white starts to approach closer with his king, and now black needs to travel with his king and the pawn together, but of course white is fast enough. Now just rook h2, king h4, king f3, and black king is forced to go back, which loses the pawn. White easily wins the game. In this position here, I will illustrate a useful trick which white is going to use to win the game. First, king and rook will actually induce a near stalemate. Rook g8 move, king h1 the only move, king f2. And if now black goes back and plays king h2, white has very beautiful win. He can play either rook g3 or rook h8. After rook g3, for example, king h8, rook h3 is beautiful checkmate. So it is very logical that black will push his pawn forward to h2. And now the key move is king g3. White uses his king to release the stalemate, at the same time to cross over to the other side to attack black's pawn. The only move is king g1, and after king h3, that is check. If king f1, we of course win the pawn, and if king goes back to h1, rook a8 threatening checkmate, king g1, rook a1 check, white wins the pawn, and white wins this game. If someone asks you about this position with white on the move, what will be the result? Will white win or the game will be drawn? If you only use your eyes and not your brain, most of you would say immediately the game will be drawn. The reason for such answer is so close black's pawn position to the promotion square. But eyes can very often trick you. That is the same like in life. Chess and life are very similar. You always need to use your brain to make your conclusions. So in this position, it is obvious that if white king reaches c2 square in time, then both king and the rook will defend the promotion square and black will not be able to promote. Don't forget that black always need to use both king and the pawn. Both of them need to travel together, and black will need twice more moves to threat the promotion. So this position is winning position for white. King c6, d3, king c5, king e3, king c4, d2, king c3, king e2, and now rook a2 also wins the game because it will pin the pawn and win it in the next move. But let's play our move king c2 to see how both of our pieces are controlling the promotion square at the moment, and black can do nothing. He's simply easily lost. We attack the pawn and win the pawn. If in this starting position it is not white on the move, it is black on the move, then the game will be drawn because white king will not be able to reach desired c2 square. This position is very similar to the previous position, just a little bit more complicated because kings are staying at the same side of the pawn. But again, the rule is simple. If white king is able to reach f2 square, he will win the game, otherwise the game will be drawn. White on the move, of course, plays king d6. And now black can push the pawn forward or try to oppose to white king by playing king d4. This opposing will not make any good result because as now white is forced to lose the move and play king e6, black also lost the move by king d4, so nothing really changed. And let's see how again white king is able to reach desired square f2 in time. In this example as well, rook a2 will win the pawn and game immediately, but king f2 again will help to control the promotion square twice for white. His rook and king are controlling it and then easily win the pawn. If in the starting position after king d6 black pushes the pawn to e3, then white has shorter path to f2 square, and again easy win. As we said, rook a2 also wins the game, but king f2, king d3, rook e1, we win the pawn and we easily win the game. Also in this example, if it is black on the move, the game will be drawn. So we see how very thin line sometimes is between a win and a draw. Just one initial condition, who is on the move, may change the result of the game. And this is the last position for rook versus pawn endgames. Up to now we have discussed only is the game win for rook or it is drawn. But in this example with white on the move, when white plays obvious c7 move, black is really struggling here to find a way how to make draw. Very logical move for black now is rook d6 check. And now white needs to be careful if he still wants to try to win this game. many of the moves are wrong. For example, after king b7, simply rook d7, and the game is immediately drawn because black will capture the pawn. If he plays king a5, that is even worse move, because after rook c6, black just wins the pawn and wins the game. King c5 is also bad move because of excellent rook d1 move, threatening rook c1. If white now promotes, he will instantly lose, and after king b6, simply rook c1, capturing the pawn in the next move, and the game is again drawn. But white still has a good move, a good way to try to win the game. King b5. Now there is nothing better for black than to play rook d5 check. King goes to b4, rook d4 check. King goes to b3, rook d3 check, and now king c2. It really looks like that it's completely lost for black, but black still try to find some nice move which will maybe help him to survive in this game. He plays rook d4. Do you know what is the idea of this move? Well, it's a very tricky idea, and we have learned the position like this in the endgames queen versus rook. If now white makes mistake and promotes to a queen, there is wonderful rook c4 check, which creates stalemate immediately, and black has survived. But white still has excellent move here which will help him to win the game. That move is promotion to a rook. It's a great move because not only that there is no stalemate now, but white threatens checkmate rook a8 in the next move. The only defense for this checkmate is rook a4, and now white will use the fact that black king stands in a very bad corner square a1. He plays king to b3, at the same time attacking the rook and threatening checkmate, and black resign the game. So this is one of the very rare examples in which the pawn can win the game against the rook. That would be all for this chess lesson. If you like this chess lesson, please click on like, share, and subscribe to my channel for new videos.